Hello everybody, this is Mike again out here on the homestead. It's another gorgeous day, early January. I've been using the Smart Colloidal Silver to treat my water well for quite a few years. And there's quite a few reasons for that. Before we get started though, I want to make sure and pass along a few disclaimers. On the website at smartcolloidal.com, under the colloidal silver uses page, you'll find a link to this information. And it begins with a couple of disclaimers. First of all, the EPA has a 50 part per billion a maximum contaminant level established for silver in drinking water. So if your tap water, or for your drinking water, exceeds this amount, we have to recommend that a reverse osmosis filter be used for drinking water. Now I don't use one, but I have to recommend it if you see that much silver in your water. And we don't accept any liability for damages from accidents or water contamination. Do your own research and follow these instructions at your own risk. Water testing is part of the process for your safety. And then there's also a cautionary statement. When working with electricity and water, use extreme caution. Together they can be deadly. If in the process you expose any wiring or encounter any wiring, there are additional instructions in the procedure to address that, and please follow those for your safety. We're not going to go into that in this video because it's not an issue for me. The paper talks about when the well should be treated or disinfected. Generally speaking, it's at least twice per year, just as you would with chlorine. But if you've got a newly drilled well or repairs, or if you've somehow detected that you had an unsafe sample, then disinfecting is also called for. Now, a couple of other important items. Not all colloidal silvers that you find out there are actually colloidal silvers. So you have to be careful what you use for this process. If you use a clear product, which is made up predominantly or entirely of silver ions, it will not work because those ions are quickly deactivated in the well. Also, there are a lot of products out there that use proteins or polymers to suspend more and bigger particles. Those are also not recommended because they could end up actually contaminating your well because the microbes can feed on the protein. Also, the protein binds up the silver and causes it to be less effective. So it's not a good idea to consider silver proteins for this. Smart colloidal silver is predominantly nanoparticles suspended by mutual repulsion. That's a true colloidal silver. Nothing else but silver nanoparticles, some silver ions, and very pure water. There's a link on the website to what real colloidal silver is. There are only two other products that I know of that I would consider using for this. So there you have that. Now let's get into the good part. First of all, the benefits of disinfecting with colloidal silver instead of laundry bleach with 2.25% chlorine. Colloidal silver is all natural. And it's frequently, and silver is frequently used for purifying water for safe drinking. Silver won't damage well wiring, the pump, or casing. If you get it on your skin, it doesn't matter. There's no danger from harmful chlorine gases. The well area is safe for animals and children during the process. You don't have to dilute the colloidal silver, so it's easier to put in the well. Unlike chlorine bleach, the silver nanoparticles won't react with surfaces and will continue to kill microbes so long as they can contact them. It's not necessary to flush it from the well and piping before the whole house filter if you have a reverse osmosis filter, or not, depending on what you want to do. But I have to recommend a reverse osmosis filter if you end up with more than 50 parts per billion of silver, so that the EPA is happy. Also, I'm reading from my list here so I don't forget anything. You don't have to test the water for chlorine residue. If you're running through an RO filter, generally that's for your inside your house and your drinking water, but I also have hydrants and things that I use for the animals and the gardens and stuff. I don't want chlorine in that. With this, I don't have to worry about it. The silver won't consume your activated carbon filter like chlorine does. You don't have to replace any of your water filters after disinfecting. The colloidal silver won't loosen scale in the well as much, causing your filters to get plugged up. The silver nanoparticles will accumulate in the well, eventually providing more and more effectiveness over time with additional treatments, unlike bleach, which is pretty much one and done. If you have sulfur water, it's not necessary to double the amount of colloidal silver, which you may have been recommended to do with bleach if you have a good instruction. You don't have to remove filters or bypass filters during treatment. The silver nanoparticles captured in the filters actually provide an antimicrobial effect. There are a lot of filters being sold for water purification that are just that. They've been impregnated with silver. The silver won't harm your landscaping or any bodies of water. And you simply use the same amount of smart colloidal silver, which is a 30 ppm guaranteed product, the same amount as you would of laundry bleach for your well's diameter and water depth. We do provide a table that shows how many cups or quarts or whatever you should use for the diameter of your casing and the depth of water in the bottom of your well. This well that we're looking at today is a 6-inch diameter well casing, and we have 100 feet of water depth at the bottom of the well. The well's almost 300 feet, and the water level came back up to just under 200 feet. And for that, in the table, it says I should use a quart. The smart colloidal silver bottles, like you see resting on the wellhead, are 20 ounces. That's 2.5 cups. I usually just go ahead and put in 2 whole bottles, which is 5 cups instead of the 4 cups you get in a quart. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this, the process. Now please, before you start doing this, if you decide to do it, read the whole process from beginning to end so that you're sure you have everything you need. And you're going to have to let this set for preferably a day So pick a time when you're going to be away. Let everybody know what you're up to. That way it sits in the well longer before you start flushing it out through the pipes. If your well has recently had repairs or anything that's stirred up sediment, the first thing you do is you want to flush all that out with a hydrant that's as near to the well as possible. As you can see here, we've got a hydrant located just a few feet from the well, and that's why it's there, is to be able to flush the things if needed. Before you begin, you need to close a valve on the other side of your pressure tank so that everything's isolated to your pressure tank, but you need the pressure tank connected obviously so that the well will pump properly. Now I have two pressure tanks. I have a small pressure tank buried right here next to the well, and then I have a large pipe that runs into the house to a very large pressure tank that's part of my water treatment system. It's important to have that large line so that you don't end up with cycling problems. Now I already have a hose connected to the hydrant here, and it's a short hose I use for this and some other things that is then run over to the wellhead, and we'll be hooking that up in a little bit. Now the first part of the process, and before we begin, you're probably wondering, what's this thing on top of my well? That's a thing called a simple pump, and the simple pump is a manual deep water well pump. It's been on the well since the pump was first put in the well, and I come out and prime it from time to time just to make sure everything's working well. But it's a pretty amazing little device, and if you're ever getting your well pump replaced, you might want to consider getting one of these. Since we're pumping from 200 feet, it takes a little bit for water to come up, but there it is. So that's what that is. It's called Simple Pump. I'll try to remember to put a link to it in the video notes. You need some kind of an access port to put the smart colloidal silver into the well. On my well, it happens to have this handy little port right here, which has a hose connection, and it's set up so it's easy to swivel to the top. I don't know that this is really strictly according to code, but it sure is handy. I've treated my well recently, so today, in order to keep this video reasonably short, I'm actually only going to put one bottle in. But I did want to show you how convenient this push-pull top lid is for putting it in a small port. I've just pulled it open. It's like on a drinking water bottle. In fact, that's what it is, a drinking water bottle cap with a locking seal and then a locking ring around the thread. And you just squeeze it in. Now this is a whole lot easier than dealing with 5 gallons of water that's had a little bit of chlorine diluted in it, and I'm done putting it in. If I was dealing with 5 gallons, I'd be at it for a while longer. Okay. I did want to point out that this port that was put in at some point It's probably not according to code, but it is there. And whoever did it looks like they were smart about it, because they avoided the electrical connection so that they wouldn't drill into that when they were putting in the pipe thread here for the adapter. So whoever did this was being cautious. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this back down, which is the way I normally keep it, and then pick up this hose. Oh, if I turn it the right way. Okay. Tight. Alright, so it's in, it's connected. Now we're going to open the hydrant and let it circulate for a while. What's going to happen is the water's going in. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. The water's going in, and it goes down to the top of the surface of the water, and then the pump down deeper in the well is pumping it out, so you end up with circulation. At whatever speed you're putting this in, if you're not sure how fast your well pumps, you can just take a 5-gallon bucket, time how long it takes to fill that up. And then you want to circulate it at least as much as there is the water in the well. There's a formula that's provided in the instructions. I'm not going to go through that here. But it takes a while, normally about 15 minutes or so. Longer is better. So we're going to go ahead and pretend 15 minutes is up. And remove the hose. Cap the port. Very important. Make sure everything's tight. And there you go. I'll be taking this simple pump handle off of here too. I've got these two-handle push-pull pins. They didn't come with it, but I put those on there so I can remove the pins and the handle and take those inside, and then I just leave this thing. Actually, that ends up going all the way down. Not very graceful, but there you have it. Okay. After you do all that, this is when you let things stand for at least a couple hours, but preferably a whole day. And that's just letting the colloidal silver stay in the well in the maximum possible concentration to kill all the microbes. Colloidal silver, real colloidal silver, kills all bacteria, viruses, and funguses. So anything that's in your well that's going to cause you to fail a water test, colloidal silver should kill it. In the instruction, there's an additional several steps for also purifying your, or I guess actually disinfecting your pipes and fixtures and all of that stuff all the way to the water outlets. And that's there if you want to do that. It's important to not forget about your water tank. It's has to fill up as part of the process, and then according to the FDA and EPA regulations, be flushed. So that's in the information, the instructions. The last, and really the thing I have to stress the most, is sampling the well water as you normally would for biological contamination. You can get it checked at your local health department. When you do that, use a bottle, a clean bottle. Don't use an old colloidal silver bottle, because that bottle might have some residual colloidal silver on the inside of the walls that would kill microbes and cause you to get a bad test. But get a good clean sample bottle, cap it, put a label on it, when you took the sample, who took the sample, where you took the sample, and if you've had a previous bad test, go ahead and write on there in capital letters retest. Those are all the things that the health department really likes. And you want to repeat this every 6 months or so as regular maintenance of your well, just to make sure that you don't end up with any biological contamination. You'll find this complete instruction with all the benefits and everything on our website at smartcolloidal.com. Select Smart Colloidal uses from the main menu, and one of the uses you'll find is for water well disinfecting. There's a link there to a page with all of this information, and if you like, there's a link there to a PDF printable document that you can have for your convenience. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you'll find this interesting. I think it's worked well for us, but you need to make sure through testing that it works well for you. Once again, we don't accept any liability for whatever you might do regarding electrical hazards or failure to do proper testing. But it's all natural, no chlorine to deal with. Think about it. This is Mike, Smart Colloidal Silver. Have a good day.